Hey, what's going on guys, Khraze here, welcome back to another Outriders video, and today I want to cover over 30 things you need to know about this game, especially since the free demo is going to go live a bit later today. It also launches on multiple platforms including the current and the next gen, as well as PC and Stadia, and I thought that this would be the perfect opportunity to just like blast you in with all of these details, because this is going to be a really cool experience. Now in this video I'm mainly going to focus on the gameplay side of things, so literally what you're going to see, do and play when you're going to get Outriders. As always, if you enjoy this at any point, it would be super awesome if you left a like on it, and let's jump right in. So first things first, as I've said previously, this is gonna be a single player, no live service, no microtransactions kind of game. You're going to get the complete package right from the very beginning, but it will have co-op. So the co-op is going to be drop in, drop out. There's even like a station to go in and queue for the co-op, and it's going to support up to 3 players maximum, so you and 2 more people. What's cool about this is that it's going to have completely full cross-play support right from the very beginning between all of the available platforms, including the current and the next gen, PC, Stadia, and yeah, you got pretty much the gist of it. Now, unlike most other games that also support co-op, this isn't going to have a centralized hub, but it is going to support multiple city hubs that do pretty much the same, though on a slightly smaller scale. So in these you can go ahead and take side missions, talk to NPCs, take bounties. You will even have access to vendor NPCs and gear upgrade stations, crafting, and a lot more. Which also brings us to the fact that you will also have a mobile kind of base yourself as well, which comes in the form of this really cool looking truck. So the truck is going to be your own personal moving encampment that comes equipped with its own crew and will give you access to basic things that you also get in the main cities. We will talk about that in just a little bit, but what's cool about this truck is that it can be upgraded and customized, and you will do so by simply speaking to its driver, or well, the driver that you employ in order to drive it for you around. Now the cool thing about this is that it also gives you access to gear upgrades thanks to this NPC, so you can upgrade your gear and increase its level. You will also gain access to a vendor in case you want to sell and buy items, and most important, you will gain access to a stash to deposit your excess items, and get this, also swap them between your other characters in case you want to give a lower level character a really cool piece of item that you might have gotten at a higher level. Character customization is also possible at any time at any of your encampments, even after already finishing your character, so you can change the looks at any given point as long as you access that specific station. Now as far as the actual classes and how they play, I already made a video on that yesterday if you want to go ahead and check it out, but long story short, you will gain access to those 4 classes as I've said when the game launches. This includes the Trickster, the Devastator, Technomancer, and the Pyromancer. Now each of these 4 classes will gain up to 8 skills in total that you will be able to unlock as you level up. Now in the demo we only get access to 4 of these, since the maximum level in the demo is going to be 7 compared to level 30 as is going to be in the full game. But it's only going to be possible for you to equip 3 of these skills at any given time, which is going to let you create some really awesome combinations. Now this isn't going to be as big of a drawback as you might think, because you can quickly switch between these skills on the fly at any point in your menu, as long as your skills are not on a cooldown. But we've talked about skills, we've talked about classes and hubs. Let's also talk a bit about difficulty and the loot. So starting with the difficulty, the way the game handles it is through something called the world tiers, of which there's going to be 15 in total. You will unlock new world tiers as you kill enemies, complete content, and survive in your current world tier. Now the thing is that it's going to also increase difficulty, so this includes enemies' HP, armor, and damage, but at the same time it also increases the level and quality of your rewards. That's why you're going to see bonuses like plus 200% drop chance or plus 100% rarity increase for the items that drop. Dying unfortunately will make you lose world tier XP, but it's only going to be slightly, so that you will never be in an inappropriate world tier for you unless you get the proper gear for that. This also brings us to the second type of difficulty scale up, which is going to be the party difficulty. And on top of the world tiers, enemies can also scale up depending how many people are playing with you at any given time. So obviously if you go in solo, enemies are going to be scaled to only one player, while if you're going with a full party of people, it's going to scale up to 3 people. Now, on the subject of loot is where things become interesting, because loot is definitely one of the strong points of this game, as you're going to get a ton of really awesome unique ways to take down enemies and customize your character. So when it comes to loot, here is what you should expect. First of all, you get the familiar stuff like loot rarities. You can get items from green commons all the way up to legendary quality that also have some of the best stats and even more so abilities that we will talk about in just a little bit. With one single exception in terms of content, enemies will get a chance at dropping loot for you, but again, I will mention that exception a bit later on in the video. Throughout all of this, you also have an auto loot feature that will prevent you from missing out on any possible drops in case you did not pick these up. Now, as far as the actual items go, you get 2 types of these. So first of all, we have the armors with the headpieces, the chest, leg, arms and feet, and then you also get 3 weapon slots to utilize at any given time. All of the weapons and armor will have a primary stat, so this is either going to be firepower for weapons or armor rating for armor, but they can also get something called mods, which I will explain in just a little bit because these are the ones that are very interesting. These are passive abilities. There's over 350 in total between armors and weapons in the game, and you can combine them for some really amazing results. Which brings us to the next point, and that is of crafting, which we'll probably spend a lot of time into to improve items rarity, raise its attributes, mod the gear, swap variants, and also level them up. So you can do all of this within the crafting station menu. Now, I will cover what the other things do in just a little bit, but I want to start with the ability to swap mods, because as I've said, mods are a very important part of your gear upgrade. As I've said, these are passive abilities that can completely change or even alter the way your weapon, your armor, or even your class abilities will work, to the point that they can even give you new effects that your class might not even have access to otherwise. Like, let's say for example you're playing as a pyromancer and you would definitely love to have a shield that only the devastator can use. There is a weapon for that, and there's many more other examples in there too. So you can unlock these new mods by simply finding pieces of gear like armors and weapons with these mods available on them. And since you're going to get a ton of doubles for any of these items, simply dismantling these items will grant you those mods, and you will be able to permanently unlock them and utilize them in different crafting menus. I already mentioned one of my favorite combinations previously, but yeah, combining a weapon that already has a lightning effect on it with a mod that freezes enemies at the same time will give you the possibility to both freeze and shock an enemy at the very same time with the same weapon, and there's a ton of other variants in there too. Now, as far as the other crafting improvements, here it goes. Improved rarity is going to let you improve the primary stat of any item as long as it's not of epic or legendary quality, so you can do this with rare items, but this is going to increase the firepower for your weapons and the armor for your armors. There's also the swap variant, which is going to change your weapon fire type and behavior during combat. Of course, as you would expect, every type of weapon will have different possible fire types to swap between, but you will be able to unlock these only as you level up. Which also brings us to the final one. Leveling up a weapon or item is possible, and you will be able to increase one level at a time, which also further increases its primary stats like the firepower and the armor rating. Which also brings us to the final point on the list, end game content. As I've said, it comes in the form of expeditions. So after finishing the main storyline, you will unlock a brand new camp, and in this camp you will find an expedition map that gives you access to these expeditions, as I've said. Now, what is so cool about these expeditions is the fact that they're completely new content after you finish the main campaign, as in it's not going to recycle anything from the old content whatsoever, and Outriders team has assured us that these are big handcrafted areas with their own unique storylines and are designed to be challenging but also equally rewarding. Among other things, of course, they will provide all of these cool challenges and rewards, but they will also unlock challenge tiers that will further give you a ton of benefits but also higher difficulties. Now, these challenge tiers act very similar to the world tiers in the regular content, as they increase difficulty and rewards, but in this case they only affect the expedition levels. At the same time, as you play through these challenge tiers, not only will you unlock the next challenge tier up to the maximum of 15, but you will also unlock the next expedition area by doing this, also up to the maximum of 15. So the last one in the sequence is going to be that Eye of the Storm, which is supposedly going to be the most challenging and probably the most rewarding as well. Now the thing about these challenge tiers is that the faster you complete an expedition, the better the rewards are going to be. But since you do unlock more of these up to 15, you can choose how high you want to go on these tiers to provide way better rewards, but also increase that challenge by a significant margin. So just to give you an example, if you're playing an expedition at the maximum challenge tier, this will scale enemies and, well, drops 20 levels over your current maximum level cap. So your level cap is going to be 30 for your character, but you can get items and even equip them for as far as level 50. But also the enemies will be level 50, which means they're going to be pretty difficult. Of course, as you would expect, if you can't handle a certain challenge tier, you can always tune it down or increase it in case you want an even bigger challenge, as long as you've unlocked the next one in the sequence. This also brings us to the final piece of the puzzle, what happens with the loot in this case. As I've said, this is the only piece of content where enemies don't directly drop any loot, but instead they will drop it, well, at the end of it in the form of this big chest that you get to open. Of course, if you do happen to die before finishing that, you're not going to be penalized and you're still going to get loot, but only the loot that you got up until the point of you dying. So if you defeated enemies, you're going to get some loot, assuming that they would have dropped them otherwise. But this is it, of course, with about 30 or so things you need to know about Outriders. Of course, there's a lot more that we will cover in the upcoming days and weeks, so if you want to stay tuned for that, definitely leave a like on this video, subscribe and activate that notification bell, and I'll see you guys in the next one.